You're listening to Nothing's Off the Table, the podcast where no subject is too taboo to discuss. Now, please welcome your hosts, Andy Barker and Drew Del Pree. You're still muted.
Thank God. Hey, what's hey, I had to look away real quick because earlier in the pre-show I was playing something for Andy and I connected my phone to the Bluetooth board, which I have not done in over a year, and my diabetes alarms were like, on the pit would cause us to go deaf. So I was like, oh man, I just connected it. Let me shut the alarms off real quick because I certainly don't manage my health in a responsible manner.
Well, hey, as you can see, ladies and gentlemen, and Lou as well, we are not live today.
Okay.
Well, kind of, sort of we are. We're live right this second. But when you're watching this, we won't be. But that's to keep our promise of bringing you substandard quality content while we're gone.
Always.
Always. Hey, dude, I want to tell you a story at the risk of sounding like I am batshit crazy.
Let me hear it.
And I still, I'm not so sure. I'm second guessing myself, basically. So anyway, Saturday night, the Northern Lights were supposedly able to be seen in Missouri. So I took my camera out and I was getting ready, hoping to be able to get some good shots. Unfortunately, I never did see it. But what I did see kind of fucking blew my mind a little bit. As I setting up the camera, getting the settings ready, I was taking pictures of the moon, tried to adjust the settings for the right light. And I'm looking at the monitor on my camera and I see a light, an object moving across the sky above the moon. And when I took my eyes off to look up, I didn't see anything. So I look back down at the monitor and it's still there moving across. I look up, nothing. And I look back down and it moved right across the screen and out of view. So I was so I didn't know what I don't know what I was thinking, to be honest. But what I can tell you is that I was in such disbelief, I didn't even think to snap the shutter. Right. So I didn't get anything. But now I'm like, all right, dude, did I really see something?
Yeah, second guessing. Yeah.
Totally, 100%. Because I do believe that there are UFOs out there to the fullest extent of what UFO stands for. It's an unidentified flying object. I'm not saying it's an alien. I'm not saying it's a spaceship, but it was something. I don't know what it was. So I kind of I went back and forth on whether I was going to tell you that or not, at least on the podcast.
I don't think it sounds crazy. I don't think it sounds crazy at all. I mean, that sounds like Skinwalker Ranch.
That's what it reminded me of, man.
Yeah, all the stuff they see with their eyes, they don't see on the machine. Everything they see on the machine, they can't see with their eyes. I mean, for the most part,
right.
Occasionally they have the double dip, but there's always some type of anomaly, some type of weird thing going on,
So what else is weird about that is last weekend, 2 weekends ago, I went camping with our buddy Ryan, who came on 420 Chief, and we were sitting around BSing and talking about, exactly what we're talking about now, UFOs, all this other shit, and he's like, "Hey, man, I'm a firm believer that when they're ready or you're ready to see it, it'll happen."
Yeah. Well, I agree. I think they're having conversations like a lot of the skeptics will say, well, then well, why would they fly? Any culture that has the ability to fly 20 billion miles would have the ability to do that. Okay, no, we do not know anything. That's Dunning-Kruger to the maximum when people make these assessments about it. Well, if they could travel here, then.
Right.
Well, if then, no, we don't know that, number one. Number two, we don't know the type of people coming here, right? They could be taunting, teasing. Who knows? We think like, oh, they're here to share. They might be here to no one knows anything, which is why I think in one of the books I was reading, the guy made a point right at the beginning to say that the government's not going to tell you. It's not in their best interest. It's not in anyone's best interest at this point in world history to let the public know that there are aliens, if there are.
Well, I think you hit it on the head a couple episodes ago when you said the government's not going to let us know because they're not going to admit that they can't defend us from something.
Well, yeah, that too. Yeah. And or that they have no idea. Like,
Right.
yeah, people are invading our airspace and we can't do anything about it.
Right.
You know,
So I watched a little bit of the interview with Tucker Carlson and Joe Rogan. I don't know if you caught that one
I did. The
where
first
they
20 minutes were about it.
yeah, and I think Tucker Carlson might be onto something when he says it's
Well,
paranormal related.
well, so if you watch, God, I can't remember their names or anything, but they talk about quantum physics and there being 11 dimensions, right, that are layered right on top of each other, and that each one is sort of a reflection of the other, right? There's these
Right.
different theories, right? But when they look at quantum mechanics, so basically, when you take an atom, you see the building blocks of everything in the universe, right? Um,
Supposedly, yes.
right. Supposedly, I have no idea, right? Then they equate that to, well, if you take the tiniest part of a hologram, what's there? The entire picture, right? In a 3D hologram. And so what they're saying is this is a rendering of light from the dimension above us, which is why we can see in 2 dimension. Like when you draw in 2 dimension, now you created something in 2 dimension and you
Right.
can see it, and it has what it has. Um, and there's an argument that the fourth dimension isn't time; it's really something else. But anyway, there is a theory that everything here is light from, a reflect, like a shadow reflection from the upper dimension. You can see down, but you can't really see up.
Hmm.
Since it is light, it vibrates and moves at a wavelength that if you attune yourself to that wavelength, you should be able to move in between, but you have to know the attunement and be able to be at that wavelength. I know I sound crazy, but Google CIA declassified gateway project assessment, and it's everything I just mentioned, and how they actually tried to do it here, or maybe are doing it. I don't know, but the documents that are declassified regarding the gateway project talk about all of this.
So I've kind of changed my philosophy on this whole paranormal stuff a little bit, and going back, looking at the government and all the crap that they've been into, the CIA with all their different programs, the remote viewing, all this work with ESP, telekinesis, and there has to be something to it. Otherwise, they wouldn't waste the fucking money and the time on it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there are 2 roads you can take, and this is just my opinion, right? You can take the road of it's all a psyop, right?
It could
Or
be.
like you said, there's something to it, right? I think those are your those are really our only 2 options, not we're blowing in the wind and we're gonna discover a new element that happens to look like a ghost of my dead grandmother, right? Like,
Right.
I don't think that is gonna happen, but I guess maybe there's a slim possibility. So maybe it's, 49.8 and 49.8, and there's a
Yeah.
0.02% chance
Yeah.
that, we might find something out there. But this is either the largest psyop in the world, or there is something to it, and nobody's saying anything because nobody really knows, or what they think they know would uproot sort of what we have going on, right? Otherwise, why would you hide that information? There's no
The,
reason to hide it.
the other reason why I don't believe it's a psyop is because the whole world's governments would have to be in on it. And that just ain't gonna happen. I mean, every country's got their own the Russians were definitely exploring this.
Yes.
Um, Other governments were exploring. I mean, hell, look at Hitler back in
Yeah.
the 30s and the 40s.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, man, I've changed my whole philosophy. There is definitely something to it. I don't know what it is. I'm like you said, we're not gonna pop out ghosts here or anything like that. But there's some. I think that we're looking at science incorrectly. We're looking at it too linearly, if that makes any sense. Uh,
Yeah. Well, that's,
so
funny you mentioned that. Like I said, I do consume a lot of books. Things catch my interest, so I'll go down these rabbit holes, and I'm heading down, like we talked about last week. Um, the Austrian's perspective on the history of economic thought. It's so funny. My daughter makes fun of me about that. She's we were at the steak dinner. I was like, oh, I want to go home and just relax. And she was like, and listen to an Austrian perspective on economic thought. Because we have Echo devices, like the Echo Show, and I
Mhm,
listen to it on Audible, so it like flashes across the screen every now and then, like, do you want to resume
that's
an
funny.
Austrian perspective on economic? Anyway, they're talking about right now in the 16th century that there is a divide going on in the thought process, and this is where we are about to separate fact gathering from narrative.
Hmm.
And we're about to say only facts matter, narratives don't really. And what they're getting at in this assessment of the economics is this is sort of where we go wrong. And when you go to the fact side, you get closer to the economy that we have today. Whereas it, like, sort of in our founding documents, right? Democracies are only good for the moral, right? Capitalism is good with a moral compass, right? It's not designed for cheats and thieves.
If you say so.
Yeah, it's not really designed for cheats and thieves. With a good moral compass, you can have a well-functioning system. And they're saying, in the 15th century, in order to start getting a more positive attitude towards usury, right? Interest on loan rates, excessive interests and stuff, they had to remove sort of uh how am I trying to say,
Their whole thought process, they had to change it.
the morality. Yeah, they had to kind of like play games with the morality, and sort of get the morality out of the economy, right? If we can take morality out of the economy, then we can start charging some of these taxes. Here's what's fascinating though, and I'd love to hear your perspective on it. What they're saying is you couldn't grow unless you did that. Right? Because when they were taking out interest and, like, saying taxes and interest are evil and bad and horrible, the merchant was looked down upon. And so people just weren't going anywhere and doing anything. And so civilizations were not growing because there was an anti-trade and anti tax and profit motive that everybody should just do everything for everyone. Um, but what they're saying is that risk there's a lot of risk involved and a lot of knowledge involved that not everybody has. And how are you going to charge for that? Like, why should this guy take risk for no profit, right? Like, nobody was willing to take the risk. So they had to start playing games with that. But they're saying right around the 15th century it broke.
Interesting. So I don't know if you can tell me or not, but what was going on in the world in the 1500s when that happened? What's significant about that?
So I'll tell you what they were saying was happened in about the 14th century that caused a huge problem, and that was the printing press. The printing press caused a problem. Martin Luther never attempted to fracture the church, but then there were no copyright laws. So when he posted his thesis and somebody got a hold of it, they printed it and sent it everywhere, and it blew the church into 1,000 pieces.
Wow.
Right? And what they're saying is now information is flowing. And it is flowing quick and fast for that time. Just like we're afraid of AI and information,
Mhm.
same thing is happening right around this 14th, 15th, 16th century. These books are blowing up. People are getting access to information cheaper. There's no copyright law, so you could print whatever the hell you want, whenever you want, however you want, and other people's thoughts, words, opinions, other things. You can make money off other people left
You
and
know,
right.
it sounds an awful lot like the internet of today.
Yes, and so the church and the governments got nervous, got
I bet they
real,
did.
real nervous because now people are moving around. Now people are seeing other goods in world trade, and they're learning about these things in other countries and stuff, and it's harder to keep control. So
Absolutely.
they
You
had to
hit
get
it
control. So
right on the head.
they look to the money. They look to the money. We have to start, like, looking at how economies work. How do we get people back into the church with these papal bulls and various other things, because people weren't going to church either. They were just setting up their own church. Everyone had a Bible now.
Of course. Yeah, I mean, that the church lost a lot of power when that happened.
Yeah.
And I've always said that, the church in those days was all about power and control. It was a way of controlling the masses. You okay there?
Yeah. I had a fall.
What
I
what the hell happened?
don't know. I just heard them all fall like dominoes, and I was just looking.
Oh, shit, are you kidding me? Your what do you call them? Action figures?
Yeah, looks like the Star Wars shelf took a dive.
Oh no. What the hell happened?
I don't know.
Oh well.
Uh,
It's that
who
ghost.
cares?
It's the
Yeah, right,
aliens.
right. We're hitting the nail on the head. That's how you know you're over the target. But I agree
Yeah,
with you. Church and control. I mean, it's a big thing. I mean, people. Here's the other thing. Back in those days, the Pope was not selected the way it is today. You could run for Pope. Pope Innocent was. His parents groomed him since he was a child. Making sure he was in the schools, making sure he was here, making sure he was there. And for those of you that don't know about Martin Luther, 90%. I don't want to say 90%. That's probably excessive, but certainly well over 50% and even over 60 um, ministers and preachers hadn't even read the Bible. They weren't
wow.
students of it because they couldn't, right? There were only so many and they were in Latin. And if you don't speak Latin, you don't know. Or maybe you memorized it, but you don't really know what you're saying. So, and they like that. They like that hold on that information.
Of course.
Um, yeah. And so as people, as the Bible started to get translated and people started to ask questions, um, that's why Martin Luther. So what Martin Luther did was he wrote like 99, I think it was, questions or something that he had about the church, and sent and posted them on a door. It was called his thesis or whatever, and it was just to make people think. Read your Bible, right? And the church flipped out. Like, who is he to question? And here are the papal edicts. And all Martin Luther did, and I'm not a Lutheran. I don't have any dog in this hunt. I just read a book on him, right? A biography on him. But all Martin Luther did was say, just show me in the Bible where it says these things. And that's what that they couldn't.
Excommunicated.
They couldn't. And he
Seal
was
it.
out. And and they tried to bring up like crap documents from like, well, this Pope wrote a letter one time, or this cardinal one time, but like, I don't know, farted on a pen that, splattered ink over, and like, that meant that this is, and they were like, and he just the whole time he was like, but that's not scripture. Where in the scripture? That's all he kept saying. Just show me in the scripture. That's all you have to do. Show me in the scripture and I'll shut up. And that was what he did. He went around, and then when he got famous, he went around doing that publicly.
So I grew up Lutheran,
Okay.
and it's basically Catholic light. You know,
Yeah.
you got Budweiser, and then you got Bud Light.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is. And I got to tell you, man, I just don't feel comfortable going to church, and there's a lot of reasons why. Especially nowadays, the priests or pastor, whoever, they're injecting too much political bullshit into their
Yes.
sermons. I don't want to hear that. That's not why I'm coming to church. Uh, I just forgot one of the other major reasons, but it happens.
Aerobics, my
Yeah,
knees.
no, it's it's so cultish,
It
especially
can
the
be.
Catholic Church.
It
You
can
you
be.
I just I'm thinking about it, man, and it's just like it's so funny, man. I think I told you I had my first year going through Wounded Warrior Empire Academy. My roommate was a former Navy chaplain, and so we had some wild conversations. And I was joking when I said this, but I got to thinking about it. I'm like, what if God was really the devil and the devil is really God? Did I ever tell you that?
No.
I mean, because God sits there and tells you that he loves you, but you have to do this, and that to earn my love and to enter my kingdom, and you can't do these, this, that, and the other, right? Where you look at Satanists, and what do they preach? They preach, do whatever makes you happy. Honestly, that's what the Satanism Bible is all about, contrary to what other people may believe. Now, of course, there's offshoots and everything, but who who writes history? The winners, right?
Yeah.
So what if the devil really did win? And so now he's putting all these stipulations on you, all these,
Yeah.
everybody always says, if God was such a loving God, why are there all these natural disasters, famines,
Oh,
wars?
yeah, 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 yeah.
You know? Well, what if
What
it
what'd
was?
he say?
He's like, he goes, that's a great theory, but no.
Oh,
But
Well, we were talking earlier, I think, in another episode. I don't know if maybe we did, maybe we didn't, but the Gnostic Christians, in the books that I've been going through, right? They were talking about Gnostic Christians being banned by the Catholic faith, and they were going through sort of what the Gnostics believe. But one of the things the Gnostics believe that the Catholics specifically cite by their ban is because they say the serpent was the good one. The serpent's the hero of the Garden of Eden story. You know,
Really?
yeah, like the Gnostic Christians believe, before the Bible, right? Before the Bible, anyone who kept information from anyone was a dictator and a despot.
Hmm.
After the Bible, anyone in history who's kept information from the people was a despot and a dictator. But you mean to tell me this one time it was okay? That they say the snake was the one that came in and told Adam and Eve, "Hey, man, you better eat that apple. You're gonna be slaves forever. You be tending this garden until the cows come home. You better eat
Hmm.
that thing." And it's
Makes you
just
wonder.
fascinating take. And I'm not going to sit here and say, my belief in life is shaken, but here's what I am going to say: the two pastors I asked only answered, and that's where faith comes in. Okay, you need more than that.
Yeah.
Okay, especially when a logical argument like that is presented, you're going to need more than faith, man. I'm sorry, I'm just, and maybe that's because I have a lack of it. That could
Mhm.
be, but if you're going to reach me, you better figure out how to explain that. If
Sure.
you want to grow the kingdom,
No, you're right.
I need that answered, man. That's a pretty damn good question. Yeah,
There
you're right. For all of time, that's been bad, except this one time.
there's this dude out there named Billy Carson. Since we're going down the rabbit hole, let's just fucking go all the way down that sucker.
Yeah.
This guy is out there talking about the emerald tablets and Sumerian, how basically the
Yes.
Bible was copied from
Yes.
ancient Sumerian texts.
Yes, he is correct. The entire story of Genesis is taken from Sumerian text, except instead of God, it was a dragon. And when God spoke, there was light. When the dragon spoke, he gave man the ability to grow and procure, or to grow in life. And the word he spoke was reason.
Hmm,
They give you
interesting.
the word in the Sumerian text.
Yeah. It's fascinating. I mean, it could do one of two things. It could really solidify your faith,
Yes.
or it can make you question everything.
One of the books I was reading started out with, "If you are not solid in your faith, you could be down here forever." Like not faith. They said you have to be solid in your beliefs
Mhm.
or you'll be down here forever. And I'll be honest, when I thought about that for a second, I was like, you know what? I'm not really, but I got good people in my life. And I went down the rabbit hole, and I talked to them about the stuff that I read, the stuff that I learned, particularly about the Sumerian culture, Sumerian text. It's documented in the Sumerian text, the Garden of Eden, its location, where it was, about how big it is, how many people live there. It's like a village, like a beautiful village.
It also talked about the Great Flood.
Hmm.
Um,
Giants.
yep. Anunnaki
Yeah,
or
the Bible talks about giants, not even in like not scripture, like in Genesis, they talk about oh, I can't remember his name, but his bed, how big it was, how heavy it was, all the tools, all the things, like the great forger.
Mhm.
Um, yeah.
So it really makes you wonder, and he even goes as far as to say in the Bible there's this great period where Jesus is born, but then we don't see him until he's what, 30?
Yeah.
So this guy is saying that according to the Emerald text or the Emerald tablets and the Sumerian text that he was real, but in between those times he was actually off in Egypt. He was learning magic. He actually says that he went to Tibet to learn the Tibetan ways, and it's wild, man.
Yeah. Well, so along the same track, but to shift gear a little bit, right? You talk about let me fast forward to modern old times, right? Rasputin.
Mhm.
Everybody talked about him, like he had some secret power or some other things, or he was able to, he knew hypnotism or all that. Maybe he did. But you know what he did do? He pilgrimaged all over,
Mhm.
barefoot. He learned. He
Yeah.
saw people. He learned, he understood what it was. He knew what incited crowds, what didn't.
Yeah.
They say very rare, I read a biography on him a while back, a brand new one. Um that was very interesting, talking about he very rarely predicted one thing. And when he predicted the czar's son recovering, he didn't really predict that he would recover. He removed a hysterical mother from a very ill son
Right.
vision, right? The sicker the mom, the sicker the patient, right? You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like sometimes, right? And so what he did was he told her, just leave and let the doctor work, and the fruits will be revealed. Like, sort of type thing, right? Like, hey, just
Right.
basically, you're not helping. They can't find any instances of him predicting anything in any of his writings. They said he shied away from it.
He was a master manipulator.
'Cause yes, because like you were saying, these tablets talk about somebody traveling and learning,
Mhm.
right? And that's what he did. He traveled and learned. So when people came in and he could tell. He just like I almost uh one of the tools I used that I picked up throughout my time in the Navy was, okay, I'm Andy, married, 2 kids, pretty successful, is that a lie I would tell?
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And then I'd be like, "Oh, and then I would act off of that, and I'll tell you 99.9% of the time I was right, Just
Mhm.
thinking about, is that something I would do? Is that something I would risk? Is that, knowing everything I know about you, would I do that if I was all of that? And 9 like I said, 9 out of 9 times, I'm on point because I realized a long time ago I'm just like everyone else. I'm not really, my mom would tell me I was special, and maybe I am, but
Oh, you're special, all right.
for the most part we're all sort of similar. And that's how I look at it when I see these things and I read this stuff. How are these people doing this? How are they manipulating? They toured around. They saw how these cultures work. They saw how people worked, and they just applied their knowledge.
So there's a it's the you can equate it to somebody going to college and acquiring the book knowledge as opposed to somebody who's been in the environment
Yes.
20 years, working it, knowing it. You can't replace that with book knowledge.
No, no, and that's what he did. He went and got the experience. In fact, they looked at his writings in the church. He never wrote anything. All they when they looked at his writings for the Orthodox Church of Russia, it was all just repeats of what had already been in there, just agreeing with it. Just he never was profound.
Right.
He just he brought them calm the way he handled situations. And then a lot of people felt threatened by that, and the Tsar was a weak man. He just was.
Well, he had a mysticism to him. He in today's era, he'd be a con man. He'd probably be working at Wall Street or some shit or a corporate lawyer. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
exactly. Exactly. He'd be like, who's in there now? Dugan, Alexander Dugan. He'd be Dugan. Dugan knows how to say it. He knows how to say it, whether he believes it or not, whether that's
Right.
what he's doing in the background or not. But he knows how to frame the problem. You talk to him, and you'd be like, that's a when you listen to his interviews. Tucker interviewed him. You're like, oh man, yeah, that guy's got his thumb on the. But then you look at the stuff he writes, and you're like, oh, it's not
Yeah.
his understanding of the problem; it's his
Right.
understanding of the solution.
Right. It's funny. I'm going to shift gears a little bit on you. I've been watching this series. It's an older series. It was on USA, but it's called Suits. Have you ever heard of it?
I have. I haven't watched it, but because I was watching something else at the time.
It's um it's okay. I mean, I'm almost done with the series now. I got a couple more episodes to go. But the premise is this guy, he's basically a genius, you know. I'm gonna really piss you off when I say this because they say it in the show. He's got a photographic memory.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So um everything he reads, he retains and understands. So he's I'm not going to give too much away because it's the whole premise of the show. So essentially, in the first episode, he's doing this drug deal for his friend. He walks in, he realizes he gets set up, right? And so he walks into this other room in this hotel, and they're holding interviews for this law firm. Well, he talks his way into the interview. The briefcase pops open. He's got all this marijuana in it, and the fucking guy that's interviewing him, who happens to be like senior partner or whatever, he gets this idea. They prove that he can recite the law and knows the law and everything. So they decide to make him a lawyer illegally.
Yeah.
So it goes on and on and on, and half of this show is about him doing all this work and them trying to sweep it under the rug. Well, eventually he gets caught. Anyway, it's a decent series to watch if you just need something on the TV.
Yeah.
You know
Or
what I
you
mean?
like stuff like that. Like I
Right.
like shows about smart people.
I think you'd enjoy it.
I like oh, I'm sure I would. There was an old show I got back into years ago. I hadn't thought about it in forever, and something sparked my memory, and then I've been going back through and watching it, and it still has me on it, like cliffhanger type
Hmm.
stuff. But do you remember a show called The Pretender?
No.
So okay, so it's I haven't run into very many people that watched it. I mean, but it lasted about 4 seasons. I joined the Navy when it was going, so I wasn't able to like catch up on it and everything.
Mhm.
But it's on Amazon Prime now, free. And it was about they were geniuses. Kids get tested. And when there was a private company that would administer the tests, and when they found one, they'd try to buy them or they'd kidnap them.
What's it called again?
It's called The Pretender.
The
And,
Pretender.
and so they had to score like ultra. It's like ultra high, right? Like above like your regular. But basically, what they did was they kept the kid locked up and had him do simulations, right, his whole life. So like he planned the Kennedy assassination, he planned all these things,
Oh
but they
wow.
didn't tell him that. They were like, "Hey, if I was going to shoot the president, where would I put my where would I position my defenses? Like where would they shoot him from? Like where can I defend against?" And so he'd tell them, "Oh yeah, you shoot from here, man. This is your." And then so he escapes, and then he learns he did all this,
Oh wow.
but he's helping people, and basically he has the same thing you talk about. He can read and retain
Mhm.
everything, and never loses it. Everything. So every episode he has a different job. Like there was a scene where he walked in and she's like, "Are you my surgeon?" He's like, "I am today." Like, like, but from like all the science and all stuff. But it was really cool because as he's working out the problem, he'll do little experiments. It's pretty neat to watch. I really enjoyed it. And of course, they're trying to get him back, and he's, there's a lot of side stories, but they're all very well written. And it revolves around, that's when as soon as you mention Suits, he retains everything he reads. I knew it. I knew I'd like it because I love The Pretender.
I'm gonna check it out for sure.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I never saw
Um,
the guy again. He was, I mean, bit pieces here and there, but never really saw his career after that show.
hmm. Maybe I won't watch it then. No, I'm just kidding.
Now,
God, there was something else I was gonna tell you.
Meghan
Now
Markle was in Suits, right?
she was, yeah.
Yeah. Is that why you're watching it? Tell the
No,
truth.
no.
You're not
Although
you're not on a royal watch? I thought you
no,
were on the royal
I
watch. I
can
thought you
give I can give 10 shits about that stuff, man.
10? Oh, man.
Yeah.
It's a
Anyway,
lot of protein.
not getting any younger, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, right? More
Uh,
than they deserve.
it's kind of weird. I did a little bit of reading. I never do this shit, but for whatever reason, I did this time. And they were talking about how after the show ended, and basically, she's like Meghan Markle's basically shunned everybody now that she's a royal. And I wonder if it's
She's
because,
not.
well, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
She
Now that she's
married,
famous.
right?
Yeah.
And I wonder if it's because you know the royal family is like, well, you have to distance yourself from all that. I wonder because I wouldn't put it past him to do some shit like that.
Well, I know they don't like her. Like she's out. Her and aren't her and Harry out?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, they're out, man. I just read the other day King Charles didn't even see him when he came to England. Like just recently, like was like, "Yeah, I'm busy."
What a douche.
You know?
Well, he's always been a douche anyway.
Charles. Yeah, he's
Yeah.
weird, man. They're all pushing these new climate treaties. He wants a new climate Magna Carta. He's been all over this nonsense. Same thing with Joe Biden and them are going to sign the World Health Organization treaty that in a pandemic they're able to take over and subvert the Constitution, like with that whatever rules. So basically, if they say, "Hey, we're locking down," it's a pandemic, then it doesn't matter what Congress says. We're locking down.
I can't see that being constitutional.
I got you know what? Here's the interesting thing. When they said we're gonna lock down for 2 weeks, we're not gonna go anywhere. I I didn't think Americans would do. I thought Americans would stay home for like a day or two and then be like, nah, I gotta go out.
Well, I guarantee you that shit won't ever happen again.
Can you?
They can try, but at least a good half of the country has already seen through that bullshit.
Yeah, but a good half of that half, and this is the only reason the reason I'm playing devil's advocate. I would love to believe that. The only reason I'm playing devil's advocate is because I look at my own life again, right? What would I do? Right? Well, I'll tell you what I did. I took a shot because I wanted money. That's what I did.
I didn't.
I did. I wanted money, and you know what? I know. I know a lot of people took shots for money,
Yeah, you're right.
retirement,
Yep.
all that. You know what I mean? Like what I mean when they're holding it over your head and you have 6 months to go.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like so. I mean, and here's my biggest thing, and what I've been talking about on my personal account on Twitter is it shouldn't matter if Donald Trump's president or Joe Biden, right? Like it should just be. I remember the days growing up where it was like, oh, that sucks. All right, let's get him next time, team. Because
Right.
they weren't that powerful. If your life is over, if Donald Trump gets elected, if your life is over, if Joe Biden gets elected, then that's a problem with the office. That's a problem with that office. And maybe we ought to take a deep dive into the office, not the people we're electing to it, but the office itself, right? What is going on with these executive orders? They used to be back in the 70s and 80s. Ronald Reagan would have an executive order to set up a math commission for high schools, right? I mean, those were the executive orders.
Right.
Now we're not going to enforce the law at the border. What?
I agree with you. I think it's a double-edged problem. It's a problem with the office itself, but it's also a problem with the people. If one
Yes.
person is elected and that ruins your life, you're fucked up.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
Whether you choose to accept it, you can sit there and call me all the nasty names you want, agree, don't agree, doesn't matter. It doesn't take the fact away. It's the same as transgender. A man is a man, a woman is a woman. No matter what you feel or identify as, it's a fact and you can't take that away. And you're fucked up. Period.
Well, and here's the other thing that we have to own, Andy. A lot of this is our fault, right? A lot. I mean, the truth is a lot of it is our fault, right? As conservatives, how many people did you ever hear? I just want to be left alone. Well, when good people fail to take the reins of power,
Yeah,
this is what happens. You
you're
know,
right.
you just wanted to be left alone. How'd it work out? How'd that go? I'm feeling it pretty painful right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't want to be left alone anymore. I'm helping my candidates run for office. I'm doing different things, right? I'm not as involved as I probably could be, but I'm way more than the other guy bitching down the street. That's for sure.
Oh,
'Cause we've talked before.
absolutely. Absolutely. That's the thing is most people they just want to bitch.
Yeah.
They don't want to do anything about it. They just
Yeah.
want to bitch.
I just want to be left alone. Why can't I be left alone? Okay, again, I go back to when good people fail to seize the reins of power, then they are just left out for whoever.
Yeah.
you know? So this whole I want to be left alone, and you need to seize power then, or start running for. I don't mean see, you know what intelligent people know what I mean when I say that. I'm referring to the metaphor, but then you need to run for office, seize power, right? You
Right.
need to seize power, seize the reins of power to make sure you and everyone around you is left alone.
Well, I think the conservatives and Republicans, they need to start fighting. They're not fighting. They're
I
they're
think it's the
all
uniparty.
they're all reactive.
It's the
It's
uniparty. Like Tucker Carlson has said on record many times, even the head of the Intel community is afraid the Intel community will put kitty porn pictures on his computer.
damn.
He said that publicly twice that I'm aware of. That
Damn.
he knows personally, he's been told several times by members of the Intel community and the head of the Intel community. They're petrified. And members of Congress are petrified that the Intel community will throw kitty porn pictures on their computers and call it a day for them. Which is why you end up with the Dan Crenshaws of the world and all these other people, who go in saying one thing and have one or two good votes, but then all of a sudden, oh man, they're up in Davos and now, yeah, I mean, why not? Why is trillion in debt?
Yeah, Dan Crenshaw is a huge disappointment.
Yeah, I told you, I joked on here. I stole that joke from Dennis Miller. He governs like he wears the patch over the good eye. An idiot, man. I don't know what the hell he's signing. I don't think he does either.
No, he rode that trident to office is what he did.
Yeah, and then did you see what he did to the you remember so okay, let me back up. I don't remember this guy's name. I don't
Eddie
remember it at all.
Gallagher,
Is that it?
the SEAL chief,
Okay. Okay, I don't remember his name.
Eddie Gallagher.
Here's what I remember. When the story first came out, he was being accused by former teammates who he had berated and marked poor in performance.
Yep.
Then they came and accused him of all this. But it wasn't a problem until that happened.
Right.
Right. Then the narrative started changing. They arrested him, threw him in the brig, and started changing everything that went out. They controlled the narrative.
Yep.
And then I remember everybody switched from him getting railroaded by 3 shitbag sailors he had to discipline to he's a piece of shit who should spend the rest of his life in jail. And I kept bringing up the old story, and people kept telling me, I don't know what I'm talking about. Right? Okay. Anyway, fast forward, he's acquitted, and Crenshaw, when he was looking for help, wrote a letter saying he ought to stay in jail.
Yeah.
Didn't even help him.
Right.
Didn't even help him. Not only did he not help him, lied to his face, and then wrote a letter saying he ought to keep him in jail. And telling other people who aren't Navy SEALs, stay out of it. It's their business.
Right. Yeah, Crenshaw's a piece of shit.
Yeah, it's terrible. Guy's terrible. Guy's terrible.
Yeah, he's definitely pulled the wool over a lot of people in Texas's eyes for sure.
Yeah, I don't know how he stays in, but whatever. I guess I don't know. You
It's
get what
crazy,
you vote for,
man.
man.
It's there's so much drama and a bunch of backdooring crap going on in the SEAL teams right now.
I don't doubt it. It's everywhere.
It's horrible, man. So
Yeah,
much infighting and
yeah. That's what
and
happens when the bureaucrats get in charge. When they, and hey, I hate to say it, right? But I am no, you know what? I'm not going to say it. There's nothing off the table except this. But I'll save it for post show behind the
damn it,
paywall.
now I want to write it down now because damn it, I want to remember it.
Oh man, I think I just forgot it anyway. But no, I got it. Hold on.
There's lots of allegations into illegal activities with SEAL Team 6.
Running weapons? Do you see that guy arrested in California?
No, I didn't see it. Well, there was
they arrested a soldier in California in uniform at the border with like something. He was like, "Hey man, you better you arrested me over here for this." He's like, "But go look at the coast right now." He's like, "Them boats are running guns right now down to Mexico."
Damn.
They said all these people here, and here. He goes, "I work in log." He goes, "You don't want to listen to me because I'm enlisted." He goes, "But I'm telling you, I'm trying to blow the whistle on this crap." And you came to arrest me. He's like, "Yeah, they're running guns all down to Mexico." He said, "They're using the ribs, using the boats, using the training island." He said, "It's all over there."
No shit. What the fuck, man?
Yeah, I don't know if he's right or not, but I don't know if I bookmarked it, but it was on Twitter, the video being arrested.
I do know that there's allegations of SEAL Team 6 training cartel members.
Oh, here. How did it come about? I want to be very careful how I say this. A unit I was near, because I don't know if it was us or somebody else. Whatever, right? But a unit I was near snatched up an SAS guy, right? Controlling the Taliban, helping them maneuver on us, like giving us hell.
Oh shit.
Oh yeah, man. Oh yeah. Dumped his body off a bastion. They were like, they confirmed it, right? And so you're like, well, how does that happen? And you're sitting around smoke deck talking, like, how does that happen? How does that happen? Couple marriages, couple kids, bad choices in life, great operator, bad liver.
Yeah.
Not good at the game of life,
probably
great at the
got
game of death.
Wrapped up in some shit. They're gonna throw him out anyway.
Or again, the debt. And then, if you go down there and you help them, it's a couple mil, no harm, no foul to anybody, right? I mean, I'm just help, right? And then you get wrapped in, then you get sucked in, and then now you can't leave.
Right.
Right. So, it's, but for the grace of God, right? We didn't make poor choices that, caused ours. And so the other thing too is when you're in a lot of those places, you get offers, right? Hey, if you ever get out and you want to come back and you want to train, we'll put you up. You know what I mean? You bring us
Mhm.
the same quality of training, same techniques and tactics, and we'll put you up.
Yep.
So I have 2 of those offers, but I mean, everyone has them. That does that job. You get so it's not like anything special. It's like a blanket, like you're out on the range and they lean over and they're like, if you're ever in town, I'd love this kind. It's like, it's the I don't know. I don't know what they call it in the professional world, that type of recruitment, but
It's
they're just like,
it's asset recruitment.
yeah. So I mean, they're just planting the seed, right? If you ever fuck up your life, come here.
Yeah.
But you're gonna. I mean, I don't think you're gonna live though. I don't think I don't think. I think you go there and once your use is over.
Yeah, it's a short life for sure. Literally.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I never thought anything of it because it always like came up in a weird. I'm always joking around anyway, like like, oh, we ought to go to the club together. Oh yeah, move here. So like I never um
There's a guy out there that's a former Navy SEAL, and from what I understand, he was pretty much a shitbird the entire time. Well, he's now in the French Foreign Legion,
oh
and
yeah
he's got a bunch of YouTube videos up there, and he tells you, man, he was a shithead when he was in the teams. He was in trouble a lot, been to jail a couple times, and always fighting drugs, this, that, and the other, and now he seems to. Of course, it's YouTube, so you only get a certain percentage of the truth, but he seems to be enjoying his life now, doing the shit that, well, let's face it, that's about the only shit he could ever really do. He's a
yeah
convicted felon multiple time.
yeah, and they'll take you.
Yep, they
I
take
heard it's not as
everybody.
anonymous as it used to be, but they'll take you.
Yeah, they'll still take you.
Like they don't give like it's not as anonymous, but they still have the traditional don't you know DGAF, right, or whatever.
Yeah.
But
It's wild though. It's I watched a couple of the videos and I was like, man, this guy, typical narcissist, ego for days. I was like, all right. 2 videos was cool. I'm done.
yeah, yeah.
Couldn't take it anymore.
Yeah,
Um,
they're definitely, that was the joke, it was like Hollywood ruined those guys, but I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of good people, and I think like anything, you had people that knew what the deal was, right?
right,
So for me, I was in special operations as a stopgap. I was there until until they were able to make more.
right,
You know, and I was allowed to go through the CSO pipeline because you have to have some type of training to go down range. Otherwise, they won't let you. So,
right.
you had to have some type of baseline. So since they were waiting on since I was there for waiting for the BRC guys to graduate, they put us through the CSO pipeline and
Mhm.
said, go do your thing now. That's how that happened. Um,
Now, can you
but yeah,
talk about
I
that at all?
what?
Can you talk about that at all? That training?
I mean, I don't mind. I'm pretty sure some of it I can. Yeah. I mean, it was.
Because
Yeah, we can go through it, and if there's anything I'm not sure about, we just won't. We'll just move on.
yeah, because that's completely different from when I was in the community. So I don't know anything about it.
So we had basic like you had your basic tactics and things. Then you had your advanced tactics. Then you had a CQB block. That was sort of advanced. And then after that, it was a ton of range time. So the difference between let me put this myth to bed, right? So what's the difference between special operations and conventional units? It's money and time.
Mhm.
Certainly there's a physical component, but what they told I'm not the strongest guy, I'm not the fastest guy. I got in through peer review and other things, but what they told me was, we'll make you faster, we'll make you stronger. Just have your ass out here at 5 a.m. every day until you can. You know, you know what I mean? That was their
Right.
attitude. They were like, I don't give a shit about your physicality because if you have if you have those intangibles, the things I can't teach, right? Like the
Mhm.
ability to make a decision, whether it's right or wrong, right? If they're shooting at you, you have to move. You can't stay here, right?
Right.
So, can you decide and move and adjust on the fly? How do you operate under the pressure? Are you a team player? Things like that. Like, so those things that they cannot give you, you know, that's why marksmanship and things like not, you don't have to be the greatest marksman. We'll dial you in, as long as you know how to handle the weapon, You're safe when you handle it. All these other things they'll spend time with you, right? Like I remember I had trouble with the pistol,
Mhm.
and they were like, "Yeah, man, look, they're doing the same standard drill we did yesterday and the same drill we're gonna do tomorrow, right? Again, money and time. So it's okay. Let's go over here." And all afternoon, they gave me 2 cans of 9 mil and said, "Go at it, man. Do your thing."
That's what
You
it
know?
takes.
And they said, "And when you're ready, we'll come over and adjust you, but show us how you hit. And then, we'll give you tips." Whatever. So I got to spend the entire afternoon over there by myself, smoking cigarettes over the ammo. It's not gonna blow up.
Nope.
But anyway, um, you kinda had that ability. But then you went into there was a lot of classroom, there was a lot of theory, a lot of planning, a lot of the acronyms. Mission planning was, oh my God, 2 weeks of just I'll never get back of my life. But you with every acronym, every
Did you guys go over
things.
writing warning orders and patrol
Yeah, all
orders
of
and
it,
all
man.
that?
O
Yeah.
Coca W, O Coca W with a D. Like it was. I even forget a lot of it, but it was every acronym you had heard in your FMF course that you friggin' dumped as soon as you're done with the test. It all came back, right? Um, so there was a lot of cool classroom, and again, like I said, it was just more time in the theory of the basics.
Mhm.
Right, was what it was. It was just a lot of theory of the basics, and then people went to, what made it, and this is not classified, but then, this is on class because you can see it. Then people had their SME tracks, and those were, to make sure every position had a double, right? So you had 2 comm guys, 2 machine
Right.
gunners, 2 medics, 2, different things. So
Engineers,
yeah,
breachers.
yeah. So you went to you went to whatever track, and then we all came back together at the end and had a final exercise. Um, and then it was similar to Robin Sage, uh,
Mhm.
but not quite on that caliber. But it was really really good, and really really used all the tools we had learned. And then then that was it, man. It was done.
Hmm. How long of a course was it?
When I was there, it was 6 months.
Wow.
When I left, it was 8.
Damn.
2 years later. And getting longer, like just trying to get it all in one house.
I kind of wish, and hopefully they will change this over the years, but for the SARCs, the Special Amphibious Reconnaissance Corpsmen, they kind of got fucked out of that whole deal because they don't get to wear the MARSOC pin. You
Yeah,
have to
they
have,
end up with the dive and the jump and dive, which is kind of their signature.
yeah.
That is kind of their signature. And not only that, but we didn't get it either. We they grandfathered the Marines, but not the corpsmen. And part of that was because I remember asking, sort of because somebody had a plan. Like they said, like, if you got guys that are good and want to stay, if they can graduate combat dive, then we know they meet the physical standard, right? Then
Mhm.
that would be if you because they said combat dive is harder than BRC, right? Like the PT standard, right?
Yeah.
Said so if you can do that, then we have no issue with that. Then it's just a matter of catching you up with a couple contract schools for medical. Right? No one he said, "If you can pass combat dive, no one should complain about your physical fitness."
Right.
And then, so they had that plan, and then they needed to contract 2 different schools, a vet block and an anesthesia block, and there's already people set up for that.
Right.
But the Navy said no because, all this manning is planned and it's all so at the time, we were mad, but when you step back and you think about it, they did have the right answer. I was counted under a different community, and I was on loan for a couple years, but I was part of the numbers moving forward, after those years are done, right? Like,
Right.
they're counting on this body being somewhere else, in 3, 4 years, right?
Mhm.
Um, could you afford to lose 2 or 3? Sure, but could you afford to set the precedent? No. And so they told us, "No, you got some great training," which we calculated out to be about 580,000. Got some great training, and good for you, and now take that training back to the fleet and spread it around a little bit if you can. So I
Mhm.
went to the USS Constitution and didn't use a friggin' lick of it.
Whoa. You know what that sound means.
I do.
So, in honor of camp, again, I'm going to talk about Wounded Warrior Umpire Academy until camp's over. Because number one, I'm super excited about it. Number two, it's an amazing organization, and it's a very small organization, and we need your help. I'm not going to put the organization's business out there, but we still need some money to be able to put this camp on. So if you can find it in your hearts, go to woundedwarriorua.org. $5, it's a coffee. Donate $5. Donate something, please, because it's a worthwhile project. And the veterans that are going there, especially Lou, need it. The veterans that are going there desperately need it. So if you can find it in your heart, please donate. Again, that's woundedwarriorua.org. Check them out. If you don't, I'm going to send Joe Pesci over there to break your freaking kneecaps.
Oh, man, I can't wait to call my first out.
You're going to get your chance, that's for sure. So
you're out. I'm going to yell it, you're out. And then I'm going to lean in because you suck.
Yeah.
Because you're horrible.
It's he's out, not you're out. But you'll learn that. Don't worry. You're going to see all the baseball movies. After this class is done, you're going to watch all the baseball movies you've had in the past. And you realize, man, they are fucked up.
I'm just going to say, I wish I could get a t-shirt that says, where's my clicker?
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God, dude.
Where's my clicker?
You ain't got a hair on your ass if you don't show up the first day with that shirt.
I can't. I don't know where to get them made for, I think
Connie has one of those crickets upstairs.
Oh, if I had a cricket, I'd wear it. I would.
What size shirt do you wear?
Large.
Okay. I'll make this happen.
Where's my clicker?
In fact, I'm writing it down right now.
or if whatever one you think is better, right? But now that I'm creatively inspired, what if I had he's my clicker and an arrow? And either way, who cares where? He's my clicker.
Right. Where's my clicker is the best.
Yeah, where's my clicker?
Oh my God. That's gonna be
hilarious.
Man. Anyway, it's about that time. What do you say we wrap it up? Oh, we forgot to mention one very important thing. Chuck.
Yes.
You want to take the lead on that?
So Chuck wrote us a new song. If you're familiar, if you followed us over from the pit, when Andy and I used to be over there, Chuck wrote our intro over there for the pit. Recently reached back out. He's doing well, family doing well, having a good time where he's at across the pond, and might be on his way back, but thought he'd write us a new song, and we're getting it all queued up, getting it ready to go, and we'll have it here to premiere here probably in the next couple of weeks. We're gonna try to get it worked into our outro. So we'll have to kind of figure out how do we want to talk over it, because if you guys are familiar with Chuck, master of his craft. I mean, and check him out on Facebook. Oh God, I forgot the Facebook name ever since I got off, but we'll get that. I will get that for you, and we'll get the link to his page, because he does put out a lot of music and does do a bunch of live sessions on there, just kind of talking out to the crowd. So we'll make sure we get it. I want to get the correct. I know his name, but I don't think that's the Facebook page. So I want to make sure I get the correct Facebook page out to you. But yeah, we'll be premiering some new music here from Chuck for the show. And thanks again, Chuck.
Yes, thank you so much. He's super talented, guys. Check him out, man. Give him some love. Anyway, any last parting words before we bounce out?
Just if you like it, click it.
That's right. And subscribe. Since we're being cliche, let's just go the whole route.
That's right. Comment, click like it down below.
That's right. And share with your friends.
That's right.
Anyway, thanks everybody for listening. And we will be back soon live, probably in July. But we'll keep putting up some little tidbits to keep you going. Anyway, guys, see you next time.
You're listening to Nothing's Off the Table with Andy and Lou, an Admiral Media Production podcast. All information at the time of recording is most